morning, friends, and welcome to Faith-Led Healing. I'm your host, Tammy Trayer, and this is episode 8, and we are going to talk about our stinking thinking. Today's another errand day, so I am sharing time with you from my truck, and hopefully there is not so much background noise as in the last episode. So I have my earbud in, and let's just hope that we get some good sound today, so I apologize about that. But we're going to do a series here. If you've been following me for a long time on Mountain Women Radio and you've jumped over here to Faith-Led Healing, you're going to hear some reminders, some things that I've been talking about for a very long time. Not only in my healing journey for the last 7 years, but I've had additional healing that I've had to endure from my childhood. I was picked on a lot. I did not have a good upbringing. I think my family did the best they knew how, but I didn't have a good relationship with my mother. It was very verbally and physically abusive, and I had no self-esteem. I realized that a lot of what I was saying to myself as an adult had a lot of bearing from my childhood wounds. And I share all that because I know that we all carry baggage. I know that many of you have gone through horrific things, even worse than I, and that you hold a lot of hurts and you have a lot of deep scars. I have to lean toward the idea that verbal and mental abuse is worse than physical abuse, because with physical abuse, the wound heals, and yes, it affected you. And I've experienced both, so I'm saying this just from my perspective. But mental and verbal abuse goes so deep to the core. But I'm here to give you hope. You can get past it, you can get through it, you can get over it, and you can move on. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I want you to take things away from this today, and I'm going to give you homework. I want you to focus this week on changing your thinking. And it starts with just paying attention to how you're thinking. Like I said, there's going to be a series on this. So this week we are going to just pay attention to how we're thinking and what we allow to occupy our headspace. It's super important. It's super important because once you acknowledge it, then you can change it. First, you've got to be aware. And first, you've got to realize that much of what you may feel about yourself and circumstances are lies, because they were the perception of somebody else's thoughts of you, which was a huge part of my situation. I am not worthless. I have accomplished many things, and I am worthy, and I am lovable, and I'm not all those negative things that were spoken to me. I have amounted to something, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of where I've come to, and it's been through Jesus and me working through it. And also forgiveness plays a role in things. We do have to forgive in order to move on. So I do want to say that if you are stuck in a place of bitterness and anger and lack of forgiveness, you need to address that first, because that seed is deep as well. And you need to learn how to forgive. And you can, and you need to understand that when you forgive, you are not freeing that person that you're forgiving. freeing yourself from the bondage you've held yourself in because of the lack of forgiveness for that person. So it's extremely important. I've had a lot of people that I've had to forgive and that hurt me deeply. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to progress to this place in my life. One of the things that was said to me often is, sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt me. You know, names will never hurt you. That's a bunch of bull. And it's always the person that is inflicting those words on you that is saying it. And they don't realize the power of their tongue. It says in the Bible, you know, as our tiny organ in our mouth is one of the most powerful, and it can either make or break. So keep that in mind when you're using yours as well. And do realize that you can be a generational history changer. I know I'm covering a lot of things. This is God speaking through me, and this is a subject that's pretty near and dear to my heart, because I know how we can save ourselves and how we can change things. And we don't need to be held in bondage for the rest of our lives. So do remember that, you know, we have great power within ourselves to make change, whether it's a change in how we're living, how we're thinking, how our brain is functioning. We have the power within us to control so much, and we need to take that power back. And in order to do that, we need to first start with our thinking and realize what we are consuming ourselves with, what we are saying to ourselves on a daily basis. You know, when you do something wrong, do you tell yourself you're stupid? Okay, you need to change that. I was guilty of that too. You're not stupid. We all make mistakes. We all do silly things. Laugh at yourself and move on. For real. I really mean that. Like, don't get hung up on your imperfections. Our imperfections are part of our peculiar self. Jesus tells us we are peculiar, and you know what? I'm so grateful to be peculiar. We are all individually and wonderfully made, and we are unique in our own way. And you know, oftentimes we perceive, because of other people's perceptions as well, that our imperfections are errors. They're not. They're part of our makeup. They're part of who we are. And, you know, we all make mistakes. We are all flawed. We are all cracked pots. And Jesus' light has the ability to shine through those cracks. Our messes become our messages. And I believe that's true for myself. Everything I've experienced in this life has built me to who I am today. I do not regret anything that has happened in my life. It has all shaped me. It has all built me. It has all strengthened me and made me the warrior I am today. And I celebrate those things because they've made me who I am. So perspective plays a huge role. You'll hear me say that a lot. Our perspective plays such an important role. So remember to pay attention and think about what you are saying to yourself. And don't be so hard on yourself. I want you to realize that the things you say to yourself are things you would never say to your friend that's struggling. If your friend makes a mistake, would you call her stupid? Would you say those ugly things to them? Not at all. Not at all. So you need to talk to yourself as though you were talking to somebody you love, because you should be loving on yourself. We need to love ourselves first. Why? Not out of pride, not out of selfishness. We need to love ourselves first so that we can love everyone else even better. Okay? And we deserve to be loved. Many of us weren't loved, and we sought love in the wrong places. We sought love because we didn't know what it was, and we wanted it, but we didn't even know what we were looking for. The right kind of love. And we stayed in the game for a long time. It wasn't until I was 46 years old that I finally realized I was chasing something I would never have. Because in order for me to have it, it meant that somebody else had to understand they weren't giving it. understand what was being shared via their tongue all the time. So I'm sharing all this because I also want you to learn all of these things at a much younger age than I did. 46, I've got a long life to go. But man, if I would have learned this in my 20s at 26, could you imagine the power I would have taken back at that young age? And I want you young folks out there, I'm young too, mind you, big time, at heart and soul and spirit, but you know what I'm saying. Those of you that are younger in age, I want you to grasp this, I want you to hang on to it, and I want you to chase it, because this is how you keep your power. It is in learning to love yourself, learning to speak beautifully to yourself, and learning that goodness should be between our ears, not the enemy reciting old wounds and drudging up old stuff and replaying it over and over and over again. Let me say it again, and over again. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys experience that all the time with the things you might regret, the things you wish were different, the hurts you hold, the abuse you took, the sexual abuse you experienced. All those things, they tend to haunt us. And that's because the enemy sits boldly on our shoulder, which he has no place to be. And you need to learn to make a physical action when you start hearing those repeat performances playing in your head and whispered in your ear. You need to take your finger and flick him off. He doesn't belong there, and he shouldn't be bold. He deserves to be stomped on. He clearly deserves to be stomped on. You need to politely, in a Christian fashion, tell him to go pound sand, and you need to tell him to get out of your head. And if you are not a person of faith and you think that what I'm sharing with you is baloney, that's okay. And I don't like to give the enemy more credit than due, but that's one of the ways that he likes to keep us in bondage and keep us in a negative headspace, is by replaying all that old stuff he knows that he can get us with. But I want to share something with you. When you start to flick him off your shoulder and you start to tell him to get, and you start to take your power back, and you decide that you don't want to hear that stuff anymore, there's no need, right? You've already lived it. Now you've experienced it. It's shaped your world. You don't need to relive it. It wasn't nice, right? So now you need to live in the moment, and you need to embrace the moment. And the moment you hear those negative voices, you need to flick them off, and you need to live in the moment. Sing a praise song. Listen to a positive podcast. Dance with your kids. Go for a walk. Love on your dog. Love on your spouse. Whatever the case may be, but do something that brings you joy. Do something that makes you happy. And do something that is going to flip that terrible, terrible script that you've allowed to play. And I did say that you've allowed to play in your head. Because one, maybe you weren't acknowledging that it was playing. Or two, you didn't know you had the power to take it back and to shut it off. Yes, I'm talking with a lot of conviction today. Can you tell? This is a passionate topic. And I share all this with you today because I don't have those negative things playing in my head since I've been 46. I don't have fear. I don't have worry. And I'm very serious. I don't experience fear and worry. I don't experience anxiety. I don't experience stress in that fashion. I experience stress sometimes maybe because I have a full calendar, but I don't experience the stresses of all this baloney, and I will not allow it in my life anymore. But you know what? I don't even need to worry about it. My subconscious has taken over because I've made the efforts to flick him off my shoulder when he's sitting there whispering in my ear, and I've learned how to program my subconscious to just take over. I want goodness in my life. I want goodness between my ears. I want happiness. I want a smile on my face. I don't want to be in a corner rocking. I don't want those terrible, terrible things that happened to me to replay over and over again. I want to live my best life. I want you to live your best life. And I've just shared with you the beginning stages of how you take that back. So this week, I want you consciously paying attention to what's going on between your ears. What you're thinking, how you're speaking to yourself. Own it. Be aware of it. Because once you are aware of it, you can control it. And then I want you to start making that physical motion. Why the physical motion? Because it allows our brains to retrain itself. It is like a stop. It's like, whoa. And when you do that, your brain's like, whoa, okay, she's telling me to stop. I need to stop and I need to pay attention. That physical motion of flicking him off your shoulder will start a new brain path for you. You no longer want to hear those negative things either. And you want to live life. And you want to live it at your fullest. And you can. And I want to remind you of something today before we jump off of here. You are not defined by someone else's inability to see your worth. Process that one. And I'm going to repeat it to you. Because my mother-in-law, my mother in love, shared those words with me during that season in my life when I had to walk away from my family to enable myself to heal and to remove the stresses from my life. I'm back in contact with him on my own terms with boundaries in place. Those were the most powerful words anybody has ever spoken to me. You are not defined by someone else's inability to see your worth. And that includes yourself. Because if you do not see your worth, you are not defined by that. You need to redefine those thoughts. And you're gonna find those thoughts as you are going through this week. You are gonna realize how you think about yourself, how you talk about yourself, and that's when you need to start flipping the script and turning it into something positive. Not only are you flicking the enemy and your own negative thoughts off of your shoulder, you are going to flip the script and say the proper things to yourself. You are worthy. You are beautifully, wonderfully, powerfully made. You have a purpose. He has a plan for you. And you, my friend, are in control of all of this. Nobody else. You. And you need to settle in with God and seek Him deeply and keep seeking Him, because in that place of deep relationship with Jesus, you too will lose your fear and your worry and your concerns. You will see the truth of who you are and who He says you are. And you will build an amazing relationship that you will crave. It is the best addiction, in my opinion. The only addiction on this earth we should have is one for Jesus. So, those are my thoughts for today. Let's get rid of our stinking thinking. Let's start loving on ourselves. You have that power within you. I know you do. No matter what you've been through, no matter how terrible it's been, change it all. It's just going to take some time. And if you are really stuck in that place of despair and struggling from your life circumstances, I want you to get on my calendar, faithledhealing.com/calendar. The very first thing you will see is a consultation. It's free. Let's talk. Let's figure out what we can do. I offer guided deep breathing that helps you really get to the core of a lot of your deep-seated issues. And I also offer integrative health options coming soon. So I am thankful that you joined me here. I'm thankful for you, and I will be praying for all of you. I look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to continue this series and talk some more about how and what we can do in our lives awesome day. I love you all. God bless.